name's Bob Holt Friedenthal on LinkedIn. The last name is spelled Friedenthal, and my middle name is Holt. So I call myself a LinkedIn junkie. I've been managing LinkedIn accounts for like 16 years. Got into the internet over 30 years ago, 31 years ago, I think it was, when there was only 30 or 60 million people in the world on the internet, and I knew this is where I had to go. So LinkedIn comes along, and they've done a marvelous job. Microsoft took them over, at least 6 years ago, and it's just if you're a business person and you're not on LinkedIn, you're making a huge mistake, because this is where you find other business people. So I started doing these video interviews about 16 months ago. I'm thinking I've done well over 200 of them. Robert Cornish right here, Cornish, has been a client for quite a while. And what I like about him is who he is. And so, Robert, let's start with some credentials of how people can contact you, phone number, etc.
Sure. Actually, the easiest way is to text me on my mobile, 530-520-3414. That's the easiest way. Or you can find my profile on LinkedIn and you can connect with me there. I'm available. I'm out there online. I do prefer LinkedIn over Facebook, because that's where business people hang out.
That's right. So right. So we're doing an interview of Robert today. So tell us who you are. What are how would people recognize what you do for a living?
Well, this is pretty interesting, because I used to be a race car driver. I raced for over 20 years in a very competitive class, Formula V. And I think a lot of people who are into racing know who Rick Mears is. He won the Indy 500 4 times. He bought a race car from me because he couldn't beat me when he was starting out in racing in Formula V. So I was that good of a driver. But I wasn't that good of a promoter, nor did I have a family with the kind of money behind me to really move up. But I raced for over 20 years, and I won regional and divisional championships, but I failed to win the national championship. And when I started coaching other race car drivers, I was one of the first people to actually start coaching other drivers. Over the course of the time that I was coaching other drivers, I've coached 14 national champions.
Wow.
And in the race that I failed to win, one year I coached the drivers to finish first, second, and third.
So you kind of slipped into coaching based on your skill level? Is that how you?
Well, actually, no. It was being someone who was always looking for how can I be better. They came out with a technology that you put on the race car, and it would record either your miles per hour or your engine RPM, and print it out on a chart, so you could actually look at different laps and look at laps that were faster. You could see where you were faster, and so with that kind of data, you could have a conversation with another driver to identify where they could be faster.
This is fascinating, because what I talk about is data. And how do you use data? This is exactly where your expertise propelled itself, based on pieces of information that you generated, correct?
Yeah, I was, I would supply the hardware to put on their car to record what they, their performance on the track actually, and then we would have a conversation about their data. And what I didn't know it then, but I know it now after I got involved in the coaching industry, which when I started being a professional personal coach, there were 2 coaching schools in the world, and so I went to the one coaching school, which was the Coaches Training Institute. They're still in existence. They're the largest coach training school in the world. There are hundreds of coaching schools now. So it's hard to distinguish myself as to say I'm a coach, because everybody says they're a coach today.
True. It's true.
So I really have to, I'm distinguishing myself from the standpoint of the how can I perspective, which is a question that you ask yourself intentionally or inadvertently. How can I have a great day today, or how can I do whatever that you want to do? When you ask that question, it turns on your brain to answer the question. And you may not get the answer right away, but like at 2 a.m., you wake up and you go, "Oh, I could do this."
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, well, that's how successful people think. Is they're always looking for a solution to an unanswered question. Is that right?
Is a solution to an unanswered question, or is basically that's the essence of the how can I?
Yeah.
When you ask yourself, how can I have a great day, or how can I, build a great business? You don't have the answer right away, but the question turns on your brain to answer it. And that's what I'm all about these days, is having people connect to the how can I dynamic.
I think, and this is where we got started prior to the new year. Last week we were talking about masterminds.
Yes.
What you can accomplish in a mastermind group, and what it really takes. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, but it really takes the individuals that come to these mastermind groups that are thirsty for information. And in the mastermind group, what you're doing, this is purely conjecture, you're helping to supply answers. Am I right?
Yes and no. It's so the traditional Napoleon Hill mastermind was business leaders would come together and they would meet on a regular basis, and they would identify problems to find solutions to. And so my how can I mastermind context is not about fixing problems. It's about how can we be great, and looking at the ways. I mean, there's still going to be problems, but that's not the reason for the mastermind. The reason for the mastermind is to tap into the qualities and so forth that you need to tap into in order to be great.
That in itself is the challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, back when I started racing, I was a data point. I didn't know it at the time, but we just took this test. We didn't know what it was about. They just made it to do this test. Turns out it was the largest psychological profile study of sports athletes ever conducted in the world at the time. And the one thing that was interesting is when they published the results that I found quite interesting was that race car drivers and downhill skiers were the least likely athletes to hire a coach, except for the great ones.
Huh.
So that was like, holy cow. That's
That's fascinating
uh-huh.
because you would think that that would also be in other sports. So like I was a heavy duty cross country and track runner, and actually our cross country team ended up third in the nation because we all had the same mentality.
Yeah.
And it's an unwillingness to give in. You could get into a long distance rate and say, "Oh, I'm too tired," and you end up quitting. But when everybody around you says, "Come on, we gotta do this together," that's when everybody gets propelled. So
Yeah.
that's what your mastermind group is really about, right?
Yeah. It,
I love it. I love it.
exactly. I mean, that's the thing. The contrast, Napoleon Hill with masterminds was about fixing problems. The how can I mastermind is about being great.
I love this. I love this. So people, if you're listening to this and you want to make 2023 a fabulous year for yourself, you should definitely talk to Robert Cornish. He's got the ideas, he's got the ability, he's done it himself. So let's do this. I think we're at a point where we need to be closing this off. And what I'd love to do is give us your contact information all over again. Okay?
Yep.
Sure.
The quickest way to get to me is on my mobile. You can either call or text 530-520-3414, and or you can go to buildingtrustmovement.com is a website that has a lot of good information there as well.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay. And Robert's first name, his last name Cornish, Cornish. And for the listening audience, my name is Bob Holt, Holt, Friedenthal, Friedenthal. If you have any questions, give me a call. My phone number 310-736-5787. You can call or text me. You can find me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I'm a LinkedIn junkie, or just give me a call. And I love doing these interviews because one of the things that I've found is that when I started doing these like 16, 17 months ago, people had not been doing this kind of stuff. So my transition was to take people and put them face to face with other people. They say that it takes 15 to 30 seconds for people to size you up when they're watching you and listening to you. Okay? They read your body language and your facial gestures, and that's where it all happens. So you learn whether you can trust somebody or not, or where you think you like them or not. But most people end up liking you because they believe that you have something to offer. So make sure to give Robert Cornish a call or text after you hear this video. And I appreciate it so much. And I'm going to be signing us off. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.